Yeah, if your friends aren't there to support you, maybe ask who your friends are. But that's another matter. Anyway,
Nothing like a good rail,
uh,
man.
that's definitely true. When we do launch, we will be launching the website enterthejungleverse.com, and I'll be providing some more information on that. I want to talk a bit about our upcoming stuff as well, because we've got I've had you do some coursework that is designed to help people beat large fields, especially at the WSOP. That'll be part of the approach with what I am aiming for with the Jungleverse, as we're calling it. Um, so there's that, and it'll be like kind of a how to get people up to speed to like how to like win in a pretty a certain important section of the poker market. I would say be one of the approaches of what the Jungleverse will be doing. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
So definitely, the track that we've been working on, this is not a beginner's course, nor is it an advanced course. What we're really addressing are concepts that we think is what drives poker strategy, and we try to deliver the content in a way that is very clear, in plain English, and in a way that is actionable by using real hand examples that will pop up, when you go sit down and play a poker tournament. But we're not holding back and try to dumb it down. We're going straight to the meat of the theory. Like we have stuff, I'm looking at the module one right now. The first one we talk about is equity versus EV. It's not like, oh, how to play a single race pot from the button. This is definitely theory driven, in that the ultimate goal is to introduce ideas that are driving basically modern poker strategy, so we can onboard people into what's out there in terms of analysis, namely in this case uh, the Jungleverse, to introduce idea and a common language so that they can move on to more advanced material. So it's theory driven, but it's explained in a way that is very practical, as opposed to like, hey, here's the theory stuff and get really mathy dense, or here's like, how do you play this spot? Here's the tricks to beat the pros. We're kind of doing it in the right way, like teaching a man to fish instead of giving him a fish. We're teaching people the right way, but at the same time, we giving them a nice meal. We're giving them a lot of actionable strategy they can use right off the bat. So I mentioned the first one we talk about is equity EV, because that is what drives a lot of poker strategy. If we just sit here and just flip coins all day, we'll be doing an equity bet. There's no point
Yeah,
in skill. The whole point of playing poker is to go beyond the cards that you dealt, your equity, and to gain EV. And how do we do that? We do that by denying equity and by over realizing ours. When you put it like that, without any context, it might sound really ephemeral, like really conceptual. But if you explain it through practical example, I think people are going to say, "Oh, I get it." So this is why they use those tools to measure EV, and why they talk and think the way they do, because that is what the point of the game is about. And that's the very first
sure.
lesson. And then later on, we talk about things like, why do opening ranges look the way they do? Why do we open tighter earlier than later? Well, because you're going to get free bet more because there are more people behind you. But not only are we talking about that, we're going to show ranges of actual spots, so you can actually learn some practical knowledge along the way. And then we get into stuff like, well, what about free betting ranges? Why do they look the way they do? Well, you free bet the way you do, namely, you flat the middle and you free bet the good stuff and the bad stuff, because you don't want to get put in too much money with hands that are not worth enough. And you are trying to make opponent indifferent to four betting you, because when they do put in the four bet, you continue with the good stuff and not the bad stuff. So now we introduce a concept of polar versus linear ranges and why it causes indifference. So we're trying to sneak in really, really important concepts, but we're using plain English to introduce it. Does that make sense?
Sure. Well, it's echoes part of what I believe to be an important approach towards poker, which is to not get so caught up in the weeds with like really extreme theory and to go for the things that really matter. And with WSP coming up, I think it's really important to, well, we're aiming to help a lot of people to make quite a bit of money in a variety of different fields, but especially like the big fields such as, the Gladiator, the Mystery Bounty, and the Main Event, and all that. And this course will be aimed at people who are looking to win at those kinds of fields and be, a large percentage of the population. It's not quite it won't help to dominate like top pros or anything like that, but we're aiming towards a large group of people. And I think, yeah, the big key that we're focusing on lately at the Jungleverse is WSOP. We'll also be having we'll be launching around May 21st. The plan is May 21st, and we'll be having a special WSOP boot camp, a training program with a bunch of the people who have won main events in the past, oh, not main events, bracelets in the past, and we'll be giving lectures on how to win those bracelets. And there'll be another one of our coaches joining, Gel, who will be assisting with the seminar as well to provide people whatever they need in terms of what's not going to overwhelm them with, what's not going to overwhelm you guys with, like tons and tons of material to beat these events, but just these last minute information that should help put you guys to have a good edge against a common competition at these sorts of events. But basically, we're going to take WSOP down, and we're going to do it in a way that's not going to burn all our time, burn all of your time, and also get you up to pretty good speed really fast. That's the idea. You got to capitalize on WSOP, which is a really good time to make money. And as a side note, the main focus of my community, as we're now calling it the Jungleverse, is that I'm aspiring to help you guys succeed to really make money and fulfill whatever your goals are. And that doesn't mean, at least in my mind, it's not really going to mean being the most technically advanced, period, although we'll have all of that. It's going to be more a matter of like using your time wisely and finding the right spots and learning the right skills that will be appropriate for whatever you're doing. In this case, crushing WSOP, but we're also going to be focusing in a variety of different areas, such as how to become an influencer at some point, creating a jobs market and all of that. Also finding the right spots in other areas when things are not so obvious and there's not just a WSOP hanging around. That's the overall theme of the community, and it'll be echoed through Phil's work and also through this bootcamp that we're launching.
Exciting stuff. We got a lot of work coming up.
Glad to have Phil on the team, prepping all this stuff. I really think he's one of the best out there with the kind of analysis that he provides. Do you have any words on what you're expecting for this WSOP? Do you have any big goals yourself, or any expectations for the aspiring poker pro during all this?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I've only been on the journey for the last 3 years full time, and I think a lot of lessons I learned along the way would be pretty fresh. And one of the big one, and everyone talks about it, but not a lot of people carry it out, and it's very real. Specific WSOP is to make sure you don't burn out. There are always events around the corner, and they're always so tempting, and it's always like, oh my God, there's this game out there, I have to play it. No, sir, you don't have to do anything. Make sure you get rest. Make sure you eat well. Make sure you don't burn out. It's better to be 90%, 95% in 10 events than 70% in 50 events, because those edges, they're not linear in the sense that if you're not at your peak shape, you're not going to have any edge. It's not like multi-tabling online. You don't just say, I'll give up half my EV and play double the table. It doesn't work like that. You need to be in your peak shape, and because what really happens is that opportunity is going to flash, and you're going to have a moment to capture it. And if you're not in your peak shape, you won't grab it, and that's how you win a tournament this summer.
That's an interesting point. I forgot about that. I'm a little bit privileged in that I get to play like high stakes mixed games, which are quite fun, and it's a lot nicer than, if I'm really honest, it's nicer than going to, what is it, the Ballies, and grinding tournaments, from my experience, there's a lot of things that I don't really love about that personally. It might be an interesting idea to get a little group solution to a few of the problems, such as eating regular food there or decent food there is kind of hard, I noticed. Yeah, I can imagine just grinding that forever is not going to be a great idea. It's probably worth like timing your breaks, whoever the players, whoever you guys are, your breaks, so that you don't have to stay there all the time. It'd be really brutal to like spend all your time in the valleys playing tournaments. And there's a lot of cool things out there. That being said, I will personally be providing support for you guys as for my clients and people that are aiming to help anyway, for crushing the WSOP. And Phil will be there too, and if he's not too busy, he'll be providing his support as well. So I do think that, especially when situations such as final tables happen, it's important to be able to have the right group for backing you up when these sorts of things happen, because these are really unusual situations, and it can be really easy to not play them optimally because of because of a bit of a psychological things going on, and quite some difference in how ICM affects play at these final tables, whereas I'm not 100% sure. I just think a lot of people will have some questions or need something during that time, is my personal guess.
Oh, totally. I mean, if you have, for the people watching, if you're less study and don't have the resources, or haven't just gone through the motions to understand like what ICM's about, you basically are, by the time you get to a later day, especially in WSOP where it's really top heavy, you enter let's look at the main event. You enter a $10,000 tournament, and the min cash for the final table is $1 million, right? That's what, 100,000, $1 million. That's 100x your buy-in. When you get too late in late stages in a really big tournament like final table, and you have days off, it's definitely a plus EV investment to hire someone to give you some pointers, because it's money that pays for itself really quickly. You're not there to necessarily learn some secret, like, with a day to go, but more to avoid mistake and have some really low hanging fruit 80-20s that will help you get there a bit more often than if you're without it. And given how big the stakes are at final tables this summer, I think it's very wise investment to hire somebody, even just for emotional support, even just like having the confidence to carry it through. It's just really money well spent. To me, it's an absolute no-brainer.
Well, you guys also should hopefully have friends as well, which the idea beyond the community is to make friends within the community, but friends will also should be providing you emotional support at final tables, is my personal guess. But yes, of course, coaches as well, such as ourselves, will be doing that in addition. Of course, we're going to advertise ourselves. So and if your friends aren't there to support you, maybe ask who your friends are. But that's another matter. Anyway.
Nothing like a good rail, man.
That's definitely true. When we do launch, we will be launching the website enterthejungleverse.com, and I'll be providing some more information on that, and I'll be open for lots of different questions in the near future, pending pending the WSOP. I'll just be open for a lot of different questions after we launch and during the WSOP, so that all you guys get your needs met.